the lesson. So, IED. Anyone to yell out what it stands for those that don't know?
Improvised explosive device.
Thank you very much. So it's a weapon that's
Good
fabricated
job, Bolt.
or emplaced in an unconventional manner, incorporating, destructive, lethal, noxious, pyrotechnic, incendiary chemicals that are designed to kill, incapacitate, harass, deny, or distract us, basically. A big element of the IED, beyond obviously the maiming of personnel, is that psychological factor and worrying about, what's going to happen if I step here, what's going to happen if I step there. So knowing the stuff moving forward, and like I said, we'll develop a package so you're not in a state of like fear all the time, but actually knowing what to be looking out for, and that package will go out in due course. So IEDs become the number one threat to the coalition forces in Iraq in the time that we are deploying. Cause death or injury, like I've said, can vary in size and sophistication, have unlimited employment possibilities, can be made from basically common household components. They're inexpensive and have no real standardized construction method. So that's what they're there to do. Where do we think, and just yell out, where do we think the ideal places that are going to be for the insurgents to be placing IEDs? What key
Roadside.
areas are they looking for?
On the road.
On the road. So yeah, exploit
Doorways.
friendly patterns. So typically, where are we going? Like what supply routes are we using? So those roads, what MSRs, ASRs, what areas are we patrolling off? How are we exiting a compound in FOB? What areas are we setting patterns in that they can exploit? So friendly patterns is one. Yes. Where else might they look to place IEDs?
Civilian locations.
Civilian infrastructure. Yep. Anything else people can think of?
Any killing areas that might be good ambush sites?
Yeah. So lean into that danger areas. So in an area that could be like a natural choke point or even a previous IED site. I know it sounds a bit stupid. Like if they've already put one there, why would they put it there again? Well, they just want to try and exploit that previous success, and we'll ignore side chat as much as we can. So common locations I've got, okay, elevated positions, okay, like up on roofs or ladders or lampposts or trees, because with that blast down effect that's going to cause havoc. Previous IED sites, like I've said, frequently traveled and predictable routes, boundary turnaround points. So if we say, yep, we're going to patrol only a kilometre out the base today, then we'll do a 180 and we'll come back. They're going to be putting them there. Culvert and bridges. If we've got, I've mentioned the Euphrates already. If we've got particular crossing points that we need to get across, and those are the only viable points, that's a sweet spot for an IED to be placed. Stream beds, unattended vehicles, and abandoned buildings or structures. So be aware of those. The main thing to consider with the IEDs, boys, is bang for buck. I know I've said they're inexpensive, but insurgent cell will have a limitation to the amount of money, finance, time, effort they can put into developing these devices. Okay, yes, we like to say, yep, on a road that's fantastic, but if we're patrolling off through the middle of a ploughed field, are they going to put an IED in there? If it's not a pattern that we're saying, if it's our first time there, is an IED going to be there? Probably not, because they don't know that we're going to utilize that route. Not bang for your buck, just put it there, leave it there. So what about employment? So we've spoken about what an IED is, where it could be placed. How are they employed? What different types of IEDs are you guys aware of?
Dug in
Triggers.
Dug in. So if it's dug in, what type of IED are we thinking that would be, or what could it be? There are probably two options there.
Some sort of pressure.
Yeah, pressure. So pressure being what we call victim operated. So the victim steps on it,
Okay.
it goes off. So dug in the ground, it could be victim operated. What about if it's closer to the surface and there's good signal to the device?
Remote separated.
Yeah, so cell phone, aka remote operated, is a good one. What's another one that we typically
Timers.
always deal with?
Tripwire.
Yep, wire, or like so command wire, or actually like again victim operated, actually stepping over that wire. What's another one that we've missed? Quite big,
A timer.
physically quite big. Timer is another one, but what's
vehicle.
like physically a big one? Yeah, vehicle borne IED, and that could be either vehicle borne. It's a huge package. They put it in the vehicle, they leave it there. Alternatively, we're looking at like suicide vehicle borne IEDs, where they're just driving that into you. I put a crazy for the there's no one, I don't know if anyone's got access to support Koi here, but I put a video in there the other day. I'll share it with you guys. It's in Somalia. This wham truck. They just plow it through the gate of this NATO base, set it off. The explosion's absolutely huge. Other things to think of, obviously, person borne. So like suicide vests, things that we're thinking of. Backpacks, briefcases, etc. And then final one. I've labelled it Trojan horse IED, but this is like benign objects that you think might be safe to handle. So enemy weapon systems, magazines, radios, things that you'd usually be like, oh, this is harmless. Or I guess in the case of armor, like I know there's a few people in the unit that like to be like, oh, an RPG, I'll just pick it up. No. Booby trap is what you should be thinking. So glad that we've identified a couple of those. So moving on to kind of the main thing that you guys need to be switching on for now and identifying tonight, because it will be how you survive on the range, because it is a live range. So if you go boom, then that's unfortunate for you. Get ready for the reinsert. Is going to be the 6 kind of primary categories or fundamentals that we're looking for in order to identify IEDs. Just so we know, on the ranges, every IED is going to be a victim-operated IED, so they are going to be dug in. On the deployment, we are toying with working out a good way for remote detonation. So cell phone, a dicker or a spotter, calling in on the device and triggering it that way, which means we'll have to scanning the area for possible threats. But going back to the range, all going to be victim operated. So there are 6 kind of key signs that we can look out for. Off the top of their head, does anyone think that they might know one or some of the kind of signs that we're looking out for?
I reckon I know
Disturbed
some.
earth.
Yep, yell some out if you think you know them.
Disturbed ground, uneven ground.
Okay, so we've got disturbance. What else have we got for anyone else?
Markers.
Markers. So what do we mean by markers, Igman? Are we looking at like pen markers on the floor? Or?
No, like just an object, like a rock or a brick or something,
like
just in
like
the
a
road.
discarded
Stones,
object.
something like that. That's slightly different. So that's
Okay.
discardance, and that's different from markers,
Right,
and we
okay.
can talk about that in a minute. Anyone else think they might know any? So we've got kind of disturbed earth, so disturbance. We've got markers. We've got discardance. Anyone know anything else?
Sulkers keeping away from the place.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking for here. Presence of the abnormal and absence of the normal. So if a town is usually, if we've been through a town we know it's meant to be bustling with civ pop, and all of a sudden there's no civ pop there, it might be that black and white. They might try and hide it a bit more, but that is something to look out for. So going through the ones that I've got here. So go on.
Maybe like bottlenecks and stuff like that, like little like areas that would be going through, like
Yep,
little alleyways and stuff.
We call that channeling. So avoiding channeling is a good one. There is an acronym. It's CAGE, and I've completely forgotten what it stands for. So give me a minute to remember. Okay, 2 seconds, because I've got it in my notes.
Line 132 message.
I get one more thing for I'm going to do my heading. Okay, so CAGE, channeling, aiming markers, ground sign, environment. Okay, so when we're talking about channeling, it's like, are we being forced to go through this route? Be that through fires or natural terrain or structures, are there 2 rocks together? Are we being led to go through those rocks? Is that a smart thing to do? Have we been channeled to go up this IED, like I say, IED alley, up this alley? Is there a reason we're being forced up here? Terrain features, are we being forced up this way because we're following a dry body, so a dry riverbed? That's something to consider as well. But going back to these things then. So first things first, regularity. Okay, some of you might have heard before, no straight lines in nature. Okay, when we're looking for things. Okay, so regularity. When the enemy tries to conceal an IED, some things appear out of place compared to like natural soil, rocks, vegetation, etc. So when they try to bury or conceal command wires, pull lines, trip lines, anything that's a line, they're going to leave that line kind of, you know, disfigured from the natural environment. So any unnatural lines that appear, you know, circular, rectangular, square, straight, that's going to be an identifier. So regularity, what doesn't look like it should be there in terms of like what's natural. Second one, flattening. Anyone want to have an idea as to what they think flattening might be?
Those are like patted down soil or something.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So you think you go to the beach, you dig a hole, you fill it in at the end of the day, and then you give it a little pat on top. Okay. Insurgents will do the same. They dig the ground down. They think, yep, got to fill it back in. They pack it, and then you get a flat area. Okay. Obviously, how we replicate that in armor can be done in probably in wider areas than not, just because of the limitations of the engine. I wish I could find ways to make little 0.5 by 0.5 meter areas of flattening. Not always the case, but something to consider nonetheless.
Do you not represent flattening from the grass?
We
Because
could,
grass
yeah,
can be
yeah,
flattened.
yeah. We can do that. So that is one way of doing it. So yeah, we could definitely do it that way. So flattening, as I say, any general leveling or depression caused by pressure on an area, such as boot prints, grass. Have they dug out that area and filled it back in? Next thing that I've tried to demo here, but it hasn't gone too well, is transfer. Does anyone know what I mean when I say transfer? No, that's fine. Okay, so let's imagine in this square here, because it hasn't quite gone to plan. And actually, let me see if I can edit and remove the big fuck off. There we are. Okay, so
Oh, okay, I can see way more now.
okay, so let's say, yeah, I'm an insurgent and I want to put an IED on this grass patch here. Yeah, so we'll see the dried grass. Next to it is this rocky, sandy area. Yeah, I did when I'm walking between this sandy area and this grass area, I might leave some dirt in this area. I have transferred, you know, objects or like debris environment into an area that it shouldn't be. So again, if you were to see like bright green grass in any of this area, in theory that could be transfer from where I've been in an area, dug in the IED, and then brought it over here. So it's really a change in the terrain. So it occurs when you take soil or any other material from one place to another. Another type of transfer that can almost be mistaken for discardance is this here in this box here. So you'll see, as you know, we're out in the open, there's a fucking cinder block or bricks that they might have brought with them from elsewhere. That could be a more man-made example of transfer. So things that shouldn't be in that area then actually being in that area. Does that make sense for everyone? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Other one I want to talk about, which is in this box here. Can anyone tell what I'm looking at in this box here and what it might be
Kind of
called?
like a discolored
Yeah,
version of the
before
ground.
you put the thing on it,
Yeah,
look like discoloration.
Yeah, fantastic. So, color change, color change, color change. When the enemy in place an IED in the ground, the soil at the lower level is going to be darker than at topsoil level. So when, as I say, when they dig it out and then they fill it back in, there's going to be color change. This is, as I say, because of that moisture. Enemy force have also been known to either pour water or urinate onto the top of the hole so that they can pack that soil better. So again, looking back up again at that flattening, they're going to wet the ground to enable them to get more hands-on with the material. That's going to cause discoloration. So color change, and here's a bit of a hint, is really easy for me to replicate in armor. So I'm not saying that's one of the key things we should be looking out for, but that's the key thing. You can see, I know because we've got it defined in a box here, it's quite easy to spot. But if you're just walking from A to B, it's difficult because I make it difficult because the insurgent would make it difficult. So don't take it for granted that it's going to be something as visible as transfer, a fucking cinder block or bricks out in the open. It could be as subtle as color change. And if you're on that point, man, you've got to be on the lookout for that. That's kind of your role, okay? So moving on then, what about this box here? I don't know if you guys can see what's going on in this box. What do you think's going on
That's
in this
discardance.
box here?
Paraphernalia,
Discardance.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Or like-
so Holt said it earlier. This is discardables. So with discardables, it's items that the enemy might either intentionally or unintentionally leave behind at the emplacement site of an IED. So thinking about unintentionally, okay, Have they bought extra wire? Have they bought tape? Have they bought tools that they've accidentally left? Might have fallen out of pocket. Might not have picked up when they're leaving the area. Alternatively, they know we're going out swinging a huge fucking metal detector about. Why not leave a bit of wire on the floor to mess around with the signal? Why not leave other metal objects kind of buried in the dirt? Someone's going to test now if it works. It might not work now, but guess what? It will work on the op. So
You
don't
also
take,
need to make
don't
sure
take
your
it for
balance set
granted.
up correctly.
Tell him it
for
works.
to
Tell him it
work.
works.
no.
It was very loud.
I don't want to say I've become quite adept at scripting recently, and there's a lot of stuff that's going into the new deployment, and that might be one of them. So again, you know, we, as I say, you know, they are going to leave souvenirs to act as anti-tamper devices for us basically. So again, it's about
I have this all
recognizing that. Okay.
I'm telling you now, if I scan a bit of wire and while I'm checking that wire, something else blows me up, I might get an erection.
Okay.
So-
Roger.
We spoke about disturbance as well. So when an ID has been in place by digging in the air, it's going to cause a disturbance to the natural pattern. Okay, this will leave notable signs. We gave almost a grass example for transfer, but Charlie really lent on it. So there's a grassy area like on these hills behind us, and there's a big area that's either now absent of grass or the grass is trodden. That's disturbance. Could be an IED in that area. It's not too much to talk there. And then we spoke about markers. So they will frequently use markers for multiple purposes. Some might be used as like aiming stakes, or it might be to warn locals about the presence of an IED along a certain route. It might be about, you know, when's again best bang for the buck. So let me let this many guys pass this aiming post and let me fire it on. And an aiming post could be, you know, a
Not
bloody
lamppost.
a telegraph pole, a lamppost. It could be a really distinguishable bush. It could be a stack of stones that they've laid out.
Could that, sorry.
Yeah, no, go on.
Could that also be a hint as to if something may be an IED if it's got a very clear lookout point, kind of watching it?
Yeah,
or something that
100%.
has
And
a
when,
lookout point.
and when we go into developing the package, so that I'm talking about that you'll be getting on, we talk about the threat being in almost like a triad. So the triad of intent or like capability, or the threat is actually intent, capability, opportunity. So when they think about where am I going to put an IED, okay, what's my intent? Who do I want to harm? Okay, well, it's going to be us like, out on patrol, isn't it? Capability, you know, do I have the capability and the means to do this? And opportunity, when's the opportunity going to present itself? When you have intent, capability, opportunity, that's the perfect time for an IED. When we go through, there are various questions that we ask, but basically it breaks down into the following. So you might have heard of like who, what, when, where, why. That is exactly the same with IEDs. So who placed the IED, dropped the IED through the IED? Who was the target? Well, it's going to be us. What are the components of the IED? So when we talk about that, is it remote controlled? Is it victim operated? Is it VBIED? When? So when was the IED placed? When are they likely to place it? Where was it placed? Why was it placed there? And why? Why was it placed there? What was the intention? So going back to your point, Gardner, about, you know, lookout points. If you've got a remote controlled IED, yes, it could arguably be anywhere because it's remote controlled. But you got to think about the guy operating that device. Okay, does he have good line of sight onto the IED so he knows when to trigger it? Is that line of sight obscured adequately from us, or is he exposed to us out on patrol? Once he's detonated that IED, what are his escape routes? Okay, because if he detonates from a single building and he's got to exit that building, it's obvious that he's fleeing the scene. If we're in the urban environment, does he have back alleys that he can nip down into quickly, or jump into another building, or hide in a compound? So, you know, it's not just a case of, oh, I need to be on my toes all the time. It's a case of recognizing, okay, am I in an area that fits the ID package that I've been delivered? Do I now need to be awares? But I've just told you, going out on the ranges in a minute, we know that there are threats on the road, so we need to be switched on and the tune set already. I've already told you that they're going to be victim operated, so you need to be looking down at the ground. You're not looking up high in an elevated position. You're not looking for a vehicle to come steaming towards you. I've just told you about aiming markers, disturbance, color change, discards, flattening, etc., etc. Okay, so these signs, that's now our test as we go out onto the ranges. That's what we're going to be looking for. That's kind of the crash course on IED and ground sign about what to be looking out for, there's some stuff that we can do on actions and halts, but we're going to talk a little bit about that in our SOP section in a minute. So for the time being, before I begin another quick 5 minutes of talking and then let us go into patrol, behind us is a crate on a pallet. Hopefully everyone can see that. It's either Ace Arsenaled or it's normal Arsenaled, but if everyone could go and interact with that and let me know, and grab out a couple of flags, green and red, grab out a spray paint if you can, and if you feel like you want to have a go with a Valen out on the range, then grab a Valen as well for me, okay? And so, is it Ace Arsenal or is it regular Arsenal?
It's Ace.
Okay, fantastic. So
Is
yeah.
it the H3 or the M3? It's the H3, correct?
Yeah, grab the BAF one for the time being, chaps.
Does it matter which flag colour we get, sorry?
Grab a couple of each. So grab some green and red, the primary ones we need.
Spray paint will be...
Just grab black for the time being on spray paint. Sorry, I should have been more specific.
And the Valen's a secondary, isn't it?
Right,
yeah.
It is a secondary,
It's pistol.
I can't use it actually.
Okay, once you've done that, just get yourselves in that school circle again for us.
Oh yeah,
How do you
I
open
noticed
it?
something before.
What's that?
When you lower the... It's actually directional. You know when you lower the valve?
Oh, this, yeah.
Yeah, it's like it changes the like the area off to like the left.
The left light, yeah. It's still pretty good at picking it up. You've got to be careful.
Yeah, well, it's caught me out before.
Yeah.
Like I've got up to it
Talk
to a
on
point
that,
where you
don't
can
worry.
see it on the self.
Okay, so just wait for the final few guys to grab the stuff, and then we'll have a bit of a discussion about the Valen. We'll start with the Valen because I can speak to the few that have decided to go for it, and then afterwards we'll talk about the aiming markers. Everyone needs to be switched on for the markers because it's how we're gonna avoid getting bye-byed.
Where'd you get the markers from? So I've got the Valen, but where'd you find the markers?
Could be in your day
Additional.
sack under equipment, mate. Okay. So everyone should
Spray
have
paint's in
a
there too.
couple of flags, of spray paint, ideally black, and then a Valen if you want to
I
have a
grabbed
go of
all
getting to
three.
grips with a Valen. That's fair enough.
I didn't know if you wanted us to just grab one, so I was like, fuck it, I'll grab all of them.
No, that's okay. That's all fine. And the guys that are going out on patrol as the point men, we'll grab some more after
Where
because
is
you'll
the
need
metal
a fair
detector?
few.
That would be in secondary.
Thought I saw an Aberson, but now I'm appear to be doing something. What am I doing? I feel zoomed in. I was zoomed in. Okay. Cool. Was you just planning?
Yeah, we were just
Yeah. See. Okay, nice.
making some
Oh
annotations.
shit, my bad.
Fair enough.
Whoops.
Has that race happened yet?
Oh, nice.
No,
How'd you do that?
Starting the 30 minutes.
I was trying to see what was available, and I've accidentally just plopped an X down.
Okay. Is everyone squared away?
Well, I can't find a metal detector, but yeah.
It's in the secondary
in the
slot. It's
pistol
called the
slot, mate.
VMH3.
a pistol. Though.
In the pistol
Yep.
slot.
Graffiti.
That bacon pinging you.
That was me.
Ah,
Okay. Okay, love that. So, for those of you that have worked it out already, we'll start with the Valen. So, apologies for those that aren't operating the Valen. As you would with your weapon, double tap control brings it up. I'd rather people not have it up because you walk around like a muppet. So, double tapping control leaves it down. You can then patrol off with the Valen out, although it is directional. So, just be aware that you might need to take pauses every now and again, or kind of angle your walk with how the Valen is pointing, okay? Now, it does work, but a word of warning. If you hear a response from the Valen, you are probably within 4 to 5 paces of a device, so you should stop immediately. If you have it out extended, that honestly gives you only an extra 2 to 3 steps. So it's not a lot between one or the other, which is why the preference is to have it down. If we feel like we've seen a device and we need to give it a good sweep, then I am happy for you to go in with it. But whilst we're patrolling at least, let's have it down is the preference. Now, just having it out won't activate it. So you need to self-interact with ACE, so control Windows key, go to equipment, you should see metal detector, you both need to activate it and connect the headphones, okay? Otherwise, it won't operate as intended. So is everyone who has the Valen happy with how to walk with it and utilize it? Fantastic. Okay, Valen can go away for the time being then, and primary weapon systems can come out. I
Does
actually
it stay
can't
turned
get
on
out of
and
mine.
headphones
This is
connected
quite
even
funny.
when you put it away?
Sometimes it turns off, so just be aware of that.
It seems as though headphones stay connected, but it will deactivate.
Okay, fantastic. So, second to that then, and the lesson that we all need to learn now. So the SOP moving forward will be that when the point man finds a device, so there's a find, okay, we won't call on the radio, because if it is a remote IED and there's obviously phone signals, various signals involved, we don't want to set it off with the PRR. So preferably the use of hand signals or just a nice loud call of like find would be good. So as again, someone's demonstrating, that's probably a good hand signal to use. So control and 2 on your numpad if you've got it. Alternatively, just call, you know, IED front or find or take a knee, etc., etc. We should know if we're sweeping because we're sweeping with purpose as opposed to just walking off that an IED has been found. What you're going to want to do then as the point man is obviously get a bit of distance between you and the device. By the time you're on top of it and you're hearing that, you should already know where the device is because you'll be able to look out for one of the signs that we've spoken about. If you see it from a distance, you can still call that hold. If there's a bit of distance between us and the device, maybe we can look at using PRR. We'll have to develop that moving forward. The next thing we're going to do as a point man, you're going to place a red marker flag. So everyone can do this. So control Windows key, equipment, place marker flag, and then red flag. It should come up in front of you, and then just place that down in front of you.
Mine goes off the top of my screen.
Does it?
Yeah, I can only get the green flag.
Okay,
It's a
some
bit
guys
dangerous.
putting it down. Okay, yeah. I think there's a bit of a delay between people placing the flag and then coming up. Yeah, but I can see a couple coming up, which is good. It's probably about a 30-second delay or so, I'd say, at the moment. Okay. Once you've placed the red flag, I would like the next thing you do is going to go to your equipment. So control Windows key, tag, which is the spray paint, black spray paint, and then an arrow as the direction of the device. So I'm putting an up arrow behind my flag to denote that beyond the red flag in that direction is a device. Does everyone understand? Yeah?
Happy.
Fantastic. The next thing to do as the Valen man is to now clear a route around the device. We are not in a position as a dismounted infantry section where we've got the capability to be sitting around conducting the 4Cs, waiting for EOD to show up or defusing a device ourselves. That's not our job. And if you boys want to spend 45 minutes in an all-round defense while we wait to properly do the 4Cs, then that's up to you. I personally would rather mark and avoid. I hope the rest of you would too. The point man would then take out the Valen and then mark a route. And the SOP moving forward, at least for the time being, is that every 10 paces, okay, that the point man takes, so you're going to have to count your steps. Every 10 paces you make, you put down a green flag, okay? Everyone behind you will have to move along the proven route so they know that from green flag to green flag, at least within a couple steps left or right, is clear, okay? A word of warning there. It was not uncommon for the insurgency to daisy chain IEDs. So have a main IED, link that to another, link that to another, link that to another. If one goes off, they all go off, okay? So that's why we need to be clearing our route properly, okay? Thinking about channeling, okay? If an IED or a ground sign is really obvious and they're forcing you off a route, why are they forcing you off that route? Is that because they want you to actually get around the device? Or are they channeling you onto a secondary device? Things you need to think about. So point man, just because you've spotted that first IED, threat's not over. You could now be in a field of 4 or 5 IEDs that are all linked together. So you've got to really be cautious when you're clearing your route. And again, as you go every 10 steps, you need to be placing those green flags, okay? Once you've done about 10 of those green flags, okay, that's when we consider the route clear. Okay, we've got round the device, so we should be about, let's say, about 100 or so meters away from the device at that point. So if it's dug in, victim operated, we're probably out of a radius that we need to worry about. On the final green flag, we will then make another tag. Okay, what that tag is at the moment, I'm unsure. What are our options? We've got an X, arrow, circle, cross, diamond, square. So do we want to choose what do we think would be most appropriate to mark? Okay, from this point on, no more flags, but you're safe from the device.
I think circle would make the most sense.
Everyone happy with a circle?
Because then if someone hits an IED, you can then put a cross in the circle to say it was clear, but it's no longer.
I like that logic. Anyone
Yeah,
else
that's
got an
good.
argument with
Good
that
idea.
logic? Okay,
That's good.
there we are. So, point men then, once you've placed 10 green flags, you'll consider the route clear. You'll put a circle down, okay? If at any time beyond that we hit an IED, we'll need to make sure that a cross goes in that circle so that it's not clear. And guess what? The whole procedure begins again. We find a route, we mark 10 green flags, we mark a circle. Okay, let's go off. Oh, we hit another IED. X in that one, we begin clearance again. And I think we should be dropping red flags when appropriate as well to mark the position of the IED.
How close to the ID you putting the red flag?
Well, okay, let's say I spot one from here and it's over at the crate we were at. I can do it from here and I need to make sure that my arrow lines up with the threat and then I just get around it, marking a route.
Okay.
If I'm right on top of it, let's say the
Move
edge
back.
of this is the ID, you want to move back to a distance that you feel safe, then you mark. That's the reason that we're putting the arrow to show this is the last. No, basically it's no movement beyond the red flag is what we're saying.
Okay.
So if you come across a red flag, don't go beyond it. We give the directional arrow so we know, okay, everything in that direction is not safe. Everyone clear on that?
Yeah.
Hi,
Yep.
just one
Yes.
thing
Yeah, of course.
that I just want to make clear is because we have these, and from my knowledge, we can't remove the tags once they're down. If anyone is feeling in a silly mood, don't use the fucking tags. Because obviously, if you're going to be placing down random markers because you're having an off day or something, it fucks with everything because we'll come across it and we'll be like, oh, well, there's an X here, must not be safe, when actually it is safe, it's just someone felt like putting down an X for no reason. So, if you're going to have a silly moment, don't do it with the fucking spray paint.
Yeah. Typically, lads, only the point man for the night and maybe the IC2IC will have it, so it limits usage. But everyone who's doing it should be familiar with the SOP. So the marker flags, the spray tags, that's going to be point men, ICs, 2ICs only, unless we decide we need to distribute it further. But is everyone happy with that process, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got one question before we
Yeah,
go.
go for it.
If we don't have any flags, can we use coloured paint and use the square?
I'm happy
Uh,
for that to happen. So
yeah.
square of the colour. So let's say I've run out of flags. I'll do a red square, okay? And then I'll still do my arrow to show direction. Happy?
Happy.
Cool. What I can do, lads, I can write up this SOP and then we can get it out in the section channels or in the announcements pinned or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we can go from there. As a very quick question, if you guys ace interact, can any of you see the slate card option at the bottom?
No.
No.
Yeah.
The what option?
I can
Oh.
There's an option for slate
Spray
cards
paint is a
beneath
one-use
radio.
thing, by the way, guys.
No, it's not.
No,
It
it's
just
not.
goes
You
into
just have to
your.
look directly at the ground.
You have to look at the ground to get the
I've
option.
got slate card. It might depend on the rank.
I think it
really?
depends on rank. Okay, so what I'll do then.
Or maybe
I'll-
the notebook, because I've got two separate notebooks in my
No.
inventory.
Everyone will have two separate
No,
notebooks.
it's a rank thing.
It's a rank thing. What I'll do, I'll work something in. So basically, the ICs, 2ICs at the moment have a slate card. So it's an ace interaction, and it comes up and it shows you an example of the report you should be giving. So it shows you, for example, I've got in front of me right now a casualty report. So I know that I need to give time, number of casualties, location, etc. I might work one in for all of you where we've got a crib card, which is our IED SOP, so that people can remind themselves on the fly if they need to. Okay, so is everyone happy with that? Anyone have any questions moving forward? Fantastic.
that was
Okay,
very clear.
final thing, if I say 5s and 25s, does everyone know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyone
Not
not?
really.
So I should say anyone not know what I mean when I say 5s and 25s.
I do not know what you
I do
mean.
not know what that
Me
means.
too.
Okay, it's basically a dismounted drill, and it can be a mounted drill. You conduct it when you get out of the vehicle and before you get out of the vehicle. So basically 5 meter, 25 meter. So it's 5 and 25 meter checks that you conduct whenever a movement has been stopped for a significant period of time and the tactical situation requires security outside of a vehicle. So you sweep visually and mechanically in a 5 meter radius around you. What that means for you, let's say we're patrolling off, right? IED find, take a knee. I spoke about daisy chain IEDs, having a look around. So as soon as you take that knee and you're in a safe location, you first check 5 meters immediately around you visually. Okay, can I see anything that looks out of place? Looking for those signs that we're aware of. If no, then you go on to 25. Okay, between me, 25 meters away, anything that looks out of place, anything that I need to report up. You do that visually first. If we need to reconfirm with the Valen after, then we can do that. But it's just about making sure you've got that extra security. So if you hear 5s and 20s, or if someone says 5s and 20s, scan your immediate 5 meter, then scan your 25 meter. If you need to get out your weapon sight and have a look down your weapon sight for a better view, then feel free to do that. Okay, but it's just about making sure that immediate area is set, because everyone might have walked past something, might have walked past a device. IED front, yeah, I'm just going to take cover on the right here. You tread on a device because you've gone off that proven route. Okay. Right. So, if everyone with a Valen who wants to have a crack at the route, as I say, there are 4 IEDs on each route. So